The clock struck midnight as David pushed open the glass door of the small roadside diner, his daughter Emily's tiny hand resting in his. Her eyes were half closed with exhaustion, her little pink jacket no match for the biting chill outside. David glanced around. Only a few empty tables and a tired waitress wiping the counter. He gave a faint smile, trying to hide the weariness etched across his face. Sarah, the waitress, noticed the father and daughter at once. Emily's pale cheeks and trembling hands told a story of hunger without a word being spoken. Approaching with a gentle voice, she asked, "What can I get you tonight?" David hesitated, pulling out a crumpled few dollars from his pocket. "Just something small for her," he said, nodding toward Emily. Sarah bent down and met the little girl's eyes. "How about a cup of hot cocoa, on the house?" she whispered with a smile. Emily's face lit up, and for the first time that evening, David's guarded expression softened. As Emily sipped the cocoa, Sarah struck up a quiet conversation with David. He revealed, reluctantly, that he had lost his wife 2 years ago, and since then, life had been a constant uphill battle. 2 jobs, endless bills, and sleepless nights. Yet, through it all, he had kept his promise. Emily would always be safe, always loved. Sarah felt her heart tighten. Here was a man with so little, yet giving everything he had to his daughter. She glanced at Emily, now resting her head on the table, safe under her father's watchful eyes. In that small moment, Sarah realized, this wasn't just another late-night customer. This was the beginning of a story that would change all their lives forever. When the diner lights dimmed and Sarah began stacking chairs, David stirred Emily gently. She was fast asleep, her head against the table. He whispered her name softly, but she didn't wake. Her tiny arms clung to him as he lifted her, exhaustion evident in every step he took. Sarah hesitated, then finally asked, "David, where are you heading this late?" His pause was long, his eyes shifting toward the door. "We'll figure something out," he replied, trying to sound casual. But Sarah caught the truth in his voice. There was no place waiting for them. Her heart tightened. "You can't take her out in this cold," she said firmly. "Come stay at my apartment. It's small, but at least she'll have a warm bed." David froze. Pride and hesitation battled within him. Accepting help wasn't easy. He had fought alone for so long. But Emily stirred in his arms, her lips trembling from the chill, and suddenly his pride meant nothing. He nodded, whispering, "Thank you." At Sarah's apartment, she led them into the cozy spare room. The bed looked soft, inviting, a comfort Emily hadn't seen in weeks. Carefully, David tucked his daughter under the blanket, brushing her hair back tenderly. She sighed and curled into the pillow, safe at last. When Sarah returned with an extra blanket for David, she found him spreading it on the floor. "You don't have to do that," she protested. "There's room in the bed." David shook his head, smiling faintly. "She needs it more than I do. As long as my little girl is safe, I'm fine anywhere." Sarah stood silently, her throat tight. In that single moment, she saw a man whose love knew no limits, choosing the floor so his daughter could dream in peace. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the small apartment windows. Emily giggled as she showed Sarah the drawing she had made, a stick-figure family with a tall man, a little girl, and a woman with a smile. Sarah's heart warmed as Emily proudly said, "That's Daddy, that's me, and that's you." David, meanwhile, busied himself in the kitchen, insisting on helping with chores even though he looked exhausted. Sarah noticed how carefully he rationed the food, placing more on Emily's plate while quietly keeping only a small portion for himself. When she offered him extra, he brushed it off with a smile. "I'm not very hungry," he said. But Sarah could see the truth in his hollow eyes. Over the following days, Sarah watched his sacrifices unfold like a silent pattern. His shoes were worn, soles nearly torn, yet he polished them every night so Emily would think everything was fine. He never bought anything for himself. Every coin went toward his daughter's needs. Even when fatigue weighed heavily on him, he forced a smile whenever Emily looked his way. Sarah admired his strength but felt a tug of sadness too. He carried his struggles quietly, refusing to let the world, or his little girl, see his pain. And yet, Emily noticed in her own way. One evening, as David drifted into an exhausted sleep on the floor, Emily whispered to Sarah, Daddy always says he's fine, but I know he's tired. Sarah stroked Emily's hair, fighting back tears. She realized then that both father and daughter were holding on to each other with all they had, never complaining, never asking for more. It wasn't just sacrifice. It was love in its purest form, spoken without words, lived out in every small choice David made. The days passed gently, with Sarah's apartment slowly becoming more than just a shelter. Emily filled the rooms with laughter, coloring pictures at the kitchen table while Sarah cooked. David, however, remained guarded, grateful but quiet, always insisting he didn't want to be a burden. One evening, after Emily had fallen asleep, Sarah found David sitting alone by the window. The dim glow of the street lamp outlined his tired face, the weight of responsibility heavy in his eyes. She sat beside him, offering a warm cup of tea. "You never stop moving," she said softly. "Always carrying the world on your shoulders." David gave a quiet laugh, shaking his head. "If I stop, everything falls apart. Emily depends on me. I can't afford to be weak." His voice cracked despite his effort to sound strong. He turned away, ashamed of the tears threatening to surface. Sarah touched his arm gently. "David, you're not weak. You're human. You don't have to fight alone all the time." For a long moment, he stayed silent, then finally let the walls around his heart crumble. "Some nights, I'm terrified," he confessed. "I worry I won't be enough for her. I feel like I'm failing, but I can't let her see that. She deserves better than my fear." Tears glistened in Sarah's eyes as she listened. "You're more than enough," she whispered. "The way you love her, it's stronger than anything I've ever seen. But even strong people need someone to lean on." David looked at her then, really looked. For the first time in years, someone saw beyond the tough facade, beyond the endless sacrifices. And in Sarah's steady gaze, he found something he had nearly forgotten existed, the comfort of being understood. Weeks had passed since that first night in the diner, and Sarah's small apartment no longer felt like a place of refuge, it felt like home. Emily's laughter filled every corner, her drawings covered the fridge, and the quiet presence of David had become a steady comfort in Sarah's days. One evening, Emily tugged at Sarah's sleeve as they prepared dinner together. With innocent eyes, she whispered, "I wish you could stay with us forever." The words pierced Sarah's heart with warmth and ache all at once. She smiled, brushing Emily's cheek. "Maybe I already am," she whispered back. Later that night, after Emily had drifted to sleep, Sarah found David sitting by the window again, the city lights glowing behind him. But this time, he wasn't as guarded. His voice was soft, vulnerable. "I've spent so long fighting alone. I didn't realize how much I needed someone until now." Sarah's heart swelled. She reached for his hand, and for a moment, he hesitated, years of pride and fear holding him back. But then, slowly, he let his hand rest in hers. It was a small gesture, yet it carried the weight of all his unspoken gratitude, trust, and hope. For the first time, David didn't spread his blanket on the floor. Instead, he allowed Sarah's kindness to hold him, not just in her home, but in her heart. The barriers he had built from years of pain began to crumble, replaced by something new, something fragile yet powerful, belonging. As dawn broke, 3 lives that had once felt broken now felt whole. In Emily's laughter, in David's quiet strength, and in Sarah's unwavering kindness, a family was born, not by blood, but by love, sacrifice, and the courage to begin again.